Alrighty guys, so I'm glad that this was being talked about in this video, and the reason why I say that is because some have been creating some fear mongering, saying this is gonna happen, that's gonna happen, you gotta watch for this, you gotta watch for that. I know exactly what they're trying to do. It's just fear monger a lot of people, but at the end of the day, take a listen to what's about to be said about the beautiful bill. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel already, make sure you click the subscribe button. Take a listen.
Great to be here. I was in the Oval with the president going over the big, beautiful bill, and I was thinking, where's Kaylee? She should be in the back all those times up there. But in any case.
Oh, thank you.
The fact is that the big, beautiful bill is already having a big, beautiful effect because everybody's onshoring jobs, building factories, making commitments to send trillions of dollars of new investments into the U.S., and they're doing that before the bill is even passed. But we expect that the bill will pass the Senate next week and that it'll be signed by the 4th of July. And when that happens, not only will that momentum continue, but people are going to see a big, big tax cut. So if you get paid time and a half on overtime, then you're going to be taxed on the time, but not the half. If you get tips, then you're not going to be taxed on those tips. If you're a Social Security person who's getting taxed on some income because you're maybe taking an extra job, you're not going to be taxed on that. And so all of this is going to add even more juice into the economy.
And that right there is what some is not talking about. They're talking about other things, trying to create some fear monger, scare people. I don't understand why, because if you look how things are going now and compare it to how things were going previously, everybody knows there is a significant difference between the two. I mean, these last few years have been pretty rough for a lot of people. I'm sure some of you don't understand where I'm coming from.
And so you think right now we're looking at GDP growth for the second quarter about 4%, real wage growth that's unprecedented in 60 years, and that's even before the bill is passed. And finally, you led with all this scaremongering about tariffs. Think about it. While this is going on, inflation right now is lower than it's been in 4 years, and that's by every single measure. And so these people who say that tariffs are going to cause inflation and harm the economy, they got both things wrong.
Yeah, Kevin, the naysayers were wrong. Those were great days in the Oval Office with you and President Trump. And let me remind you about something that happened during the first term. I remember being on Air Force One and this Wall Street Journal op-ed broke, and I couldn't believe it. It was in September of 2020, and it was about the year before the pandemic, and it was about wage growth. And it was about how wage growth under Trump the year before the pandemic went up more than $4,000, double what it had gone up under the Obama administration. But what was interesting is the groups it went up for: Hispanics, Black Americans, Asians, foreign-born workers got greater wage increases than everyday Americans, groups that don't often see this kind of wage growth.
Wow.
So do you anticipate a Trump term 2? We see these historically marginalized groups getting huge paychecks.
Oh, of course they will. And you know what? If you look back during the really effective Trump policies of the previous administration, that if you go back and look, then income inequality, which is a thing that the far left folks have been telling us is the most important metric of society, that there completely is. Income inequality dropped by more than it had since the Second World War. And it was precisely because President Trump is focused like a laser beam on blue-collar workers and their welfare. And I got to tell you, I've seen you stick up for President Trump on shows on Fox, and I got to say that the things that you've been saying, I'll confirm about the meeting today. We were going over the tax bill basically line by line at his desk, and he had things to say about all the nuances of the tax bill. And so he is digging into the weeds. He is getting briefed on everything. It's the complete opposite of the previous administration under President.
Keeping the promise that was made to the people. That's what the people want: transparency. They want things to be taken care of the right way. The things that have been happening over these last few years shouldn't have been happening. And I find it so interesting how a lot of things are starting to come out now. It's like, why haven't the people known about this stuff previously? The people want transparency, and they want it for things to be taken care of the right way. That's why they made an ultimate decision in November, because they're tired of feeling like things have not been getting taken care of the right way. I mean, look at what's been happening these last few years. With the border, with the economy, inflation, things happening to innocent people that shouldn't happen, families losing loved ones for no reason at all. The people are tired of it.
President Biden, and he's doing this because he's trying to make America great again, and he's trying to, make wages great again and reduce inequality and make growth break records.
Say it louder for the
He's
ones in the
very
back.
much into the specifics. And one final question for you, because I say this to people and they literally don't believe me. The Trump tax cuts, when you look at the data, if you make between $15,000 and $50,000, you got a tax cut between 16 and 26%, every single group.
Correct.
So voting against the big, beautiful bill is voting for tax increases on people making as little as $50,000, Kevin.
It is, and if you vote against the bill, then you're voting against the Golden Dome. You're voting against a secure border. If you vote for the bill, then you're voting for all that growth. And this time, you remember the $4,000 number that we talked so much about, that was written about in that Wall Street Journal editorial you mentioned. The number now is 10,000, Kaylee. $10,000 is what we're going to see in wage growth because of this bill. And that $10,000 is going to come in part because of things like the no tax on tips and no tax on overtime. And so the other thing I love about President...
I got to say, when was that said? Oh, yeah, that's right. It was said on the campaign trail, time after time at rallies, podcasts, interviews, telling the people the things that were going to happen as soon as he got in office. Now what's unfolding? President Trump made a promise to the people, and he kept that promise.
Trump's policies. Think about this, that he does these things and the left say it's a catastrophe. And like you never saw, like you just saw Larry Summers on TV, he talked about how terrible it's going to be. He didn't mention that income inequality went down under President Trump. But what's going to happen is these policies are going to work. And then at some point in the future, maybe Democrats win again. Seems unlikely, but it could happen. But they're not going to reverse these policies because they work for ordinary folks. They can't do that. And so the no tax on overtime, that's going to happen forever.
Exactly.
The no tax on tips, that's going to be there forever. The no tax on Social Security, that's going to be there forever.
What a legacy to leave behind. You know, Kevin Hassett, it's great to talk to you. The left is the party of lower wages and higher taxes. Wow, what a platform. Kevin, thank
higher
you.
Income inequality.
I mean, the people seeing the things that have happened with the last administration, the people concerns were not fully addressed. Everybody knows that. Everybody's seen how things have been taking place. You know, the people spoke out about their concerns, and it's like some did not care whatsoever what the people were saying. But President Trump on the campaign trail, he resonated with the people because he understood where they were coming from. He cared enough to speak out about it. Look at the rallies that President Trump did. Look at the podcast that President Trump did. Even a podcast that President Trump did with Joe Rogan. That was a 3-hour-long podcast. But during that interview, President Trump mentioned a lot of things that were going to take place when he got in office that were concerning the people. And what did he do? Promises made, promises kept. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, go ahead and click the subscribe button. Let me know what you guys think about today's video in the comment section, and I will see you guys on the next one. Take care.